Hi, class. This is Mr. Watlington, Mr. Larry Watlington, your instructor, your facilitator, whatever you want to call me for this class for CYB 260. This is going to be a fun class, Legal Human Factors of Cybersecurity. Now, I know you're probably thinking, fun? What do you mean fun? Because it's not a very technical class. No, it's not. But really, this course does lay some foundational information about the legal and the human sides of cybersecurity that's sometimes really outpaces the technical sides. I know we all want to be, get into the techie things, be in the big room with all the screens and seeing all the blinky lights. Well, I tell you what undergirds that is policy, processes, and procedures, and some of the laws and the legal things associated with that. All right, so we're going to get into this week one. Now, this course, when we look at it from an overview, what's the goal? What's the purpose? And like it says here, it's really to examine some of the human factors associated with information systems, and how we as humans interact with information systems, especially when it comes to cyber crimes and things such as social engineering, and how we can combat some of the human-focused cyber attacks. And really, the technical stuff is great, but at the end of the day, most of our exploits that we see start with some type of human-focused or human-based activity. And really, many times, that's how companies, businesses, they get exploited, is because someone clicked on a link, someone did something, gave out too much information over a phone call or something of that nature. Also, when we look at it from a legal, ethical aspects, we're going to talk about individual privacy, acceptable use, and some of the other social concerns associated with our privacy and our information that we have out there in this cyberspace and this environment. And trust me, there's a lot of personal information out there. Now, throughout the course, one of the things we're going to use is this book. It's an ebook, like I say, Legal and Privacy Issues of Information Systems. I think this is edition 3. You can get that through your bookstore. Now, let's talk about assignments. Late assignments, like I say, you're going to get it if it's submitted up to 1 week after due date. There's a 10% penalty on that, okay? But really, at the end of the day, let me know if you're going to be late on your assignments. Please just let me know. I can work with you. We're all adults. You're adult learners. I'm an adult educator. Most of you have other jobs. I have a second job as well, or a daytime job, my full job. So I understand. I get it in this environment. There's a lot of things going on. So if just keep me informed. Keep me informed about your assignments. Next, all your assignments will need to be submitted by 11:59 p.m. in whatever time zone you are on the last day of the class, by the last day. But really, this class is not a hard class. So if you stay on top of it week by week by week, we're not going to have a problem with the late assignments or getting things turned in. Now, like I say, if you do need to contact me, email address l.watlington@snhu.edu. Response times, I will always try to get back with you within 24 hours. Now, assignments, like I said, this is what we're looking at throughout this course, right? Weekly discussions. I will tell you, SNHU, interaction is huge, just paramount. So please stay on top of the weekly discussions. Always get your initial post done no later than Thursday. Really, no later than Thursday. And then respond to at least, now, 2 peers. Let me just tell you this. At least means the minimum, right? So if you really want to maximize your grades, your points, try to always interact with more than just 2. Always try to do more than just the minimum, okay? There's 3 projects in this class, one in Module 5, one in Module 6, and there's one in Module 7. These projects, again, not difficult, just take some reading, a little bit of research. And different activities, you're going to do a case study in Module 2, and in Module 4, another research on privacy laws and compliance controls. And like I said, there's 3 privacy law worksheet activities. Well, I'll give you an example of one of these worksheet activities at the end of this lesson, of this session we're doing today. And also, I understand with you, SNHU, as a student, you have a cyber playbook. And I will tell you, I like this, this because in what I call the real world, it's all the real world. But really, having a cyber playbook, we use these things quite a bit for where I work. Like I said, I'm a senior manager at a company called Raytheon Technologies. It's a defense contractor, and I'm like say, so understanding how playbooks are used, whether it's with incident response, whether it's with contingency response or disaster preparedness, cyber attacks, it is a great tool. So it's great that the school is getting you focused and getting you hands-on with understanding how playbooks are used. So always keep your playbook updated. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. We talked a little bit about the class. Now, I always like to kind of give you some philosophy things, right? Even though, again, this is a non-technical class, this is good because the philosophy of cybersecurity and what we do, I think is very important. Now, here's some food for thought, and hopefully you will take this with you throughout your academic career as well as throughout your industry career. And this was something that was told to me many years ago when I was in the military. I'm a retired 26-year Air Force Chief Master Sergeant, and I had an officer who told me this years ago, and it stuck in my brain, and I always like to use it. Some food for thought. People who know why will always tell people who know how what to do. What do I mean by that? Okay, let me give you an example. You see this? This is a picture of one NFL player off all 32 NFL teams. These players, they know how to play football. Great at it. They understand the skills, the technical prowess needed to be a professional football player. Awesome, right? However, these individuals, owners, the Jerry Joneses of the world, I'm in Dallas, so I have to use Jerry Jones as an example, but they know the why. They know the why. So these individuals will always tell these individuals what to do. These guys can strike. They can go on strike. They can have labor unions. That's all well and good. But at the end of the day, these guys are still controlling because they know the why. They know the business. So when you think about this and apply this to your life, your career, always seek to know the why. Okay? Always seek to know the why. Even though a welder knows how to weld and build a ship, you will never see the welder's name on the side of an aircraft carrier. Because why? They know how. You'll see the name of other people who know the why. So keep that and let's apply that to this course. Because this course really is giving you some fundamental whys of security, of cybersecurity attacks, and how to do things properly, and the why. Why is privacy so important? Not just the how. Also, as I always like to cover this in all of my classes, what I call security governance. And this takes us into the why. And what do we mean by that? When we think about strategic vision, tactical implementation, operational execution. This is the way I approach security. Really, this is the way I approach many things in life. You have to have a vision. Make the vision clear. Now, once there's a vision, a long-term plan, now we can tactically implement, and then we can operationally execute. So that strategic vision starts, we're talking that 2 to 10 year vision. Now, we're looking out, across the horizon to understand what our whatever it is, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's legal, whatever it may be, we need a vision. And in that vision, this is where your doctrine and your policies come in place. A lot of things that we're going to talk about in this class has to do with law and legal aspects of security, of privacy. And those things are founded in laws and regulations and policies and procedures. Now, closer to the window, we've got our tactical implementation. This is in that 1 to 2 year period, okay? A much closer time frame that we're talking about. In this environment, this is now where we're building policies and processes and standards, things like our risk management framework, ISOs, frameworks, all of these types of things. Actually, and these, again, are undergirded, are built from here. National policies, now we start building internal policies on how we do business internally. Now, operational execution, we're talking about days, weeks, months. This is how we do things day to day. And now this is where we have, our local policies, procedures, processes, checklists, forms, how-to guides, all of these types of things. And this is important if you can kind of grasp this, because here's what happens typically in the organization I work in and other places. We start here. We have an issue, and the first thing, hey, let's get together, have a meeting, and we need to get a form so we can collect data. Let's do a data call. So here's the form. No one has a reason, understands the reasons why we're getting the form, understands what type of data needs to be collected on the form, understands how do we protect the data that's collected on the form, understand the rules of sharing that data on the form. But we're off to the races because something happened and we're executing from the bottom. However, if we could kind of roll that back and we understood the long-range policies, doctrines, procedures, and now at the end, now this is when now we're able to develop a form, collect data, protect privacy, all of those things. Now, these things really come into fruition when you start talking about training and how we train and how you educate as well as train. So as you in the cyber field, everybody wants some type of certification. I get it. But it's important to understand where those certifications lie in this model, whether we're talking about CSSP, which is more of an educational, higher level that gets into doctrine, policy, standards, or you're working for a Security Plus, it's more task oriented. So those things all tie together. All right. So I hope that kind of helps you understand holistically what we're trying to accomplish, not just in this course, but across the expanse of your cybersecurity career, where you're going. Okay, now let's kind of focus in a little deeper here on actually module 1 of this course, all right? Now, what this module is going to do, actually, it introduces us to the legal and human factors of cybersecurity. Some of the things we're going to talk about is data privacy and how to apply the principles of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in our next slide, as well as some of the specific privacy laws and things associated with the rights and what organizations can and cannot do. Some of the learning objectives that we've got here. How to articulate a stance on privacy. Meaning, what is your personal stance on privacy, organizational stance on privacy, federal government stance on privacy, and other governments, how that they view privacy. Understand the difference between information security and privacy. Big difference. There are. And how we handle privacy, there's separate security controls associated with maintaining privacy that's different than how we maintain security, okay, of information. Analyze some of the different privacy laws related to cyber defense. So, like I said, we're going to talk about the CIA triad. You're going to hear this quite a bit throughout your cybersecurity education, training, and later on implementation. CIA, it's not the Central Intelligence Agency, but it is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So when we think about confidentiality, this is, disclosure. How do we keep from disclosing information, whether it's privacy information or security information, to individuals who are not authorized to view that information, that data, or handle it? Many times we handle confidentiality through encryption. We encrypt things. We encrypt our data, our information, so that even though I may have to move it from point A to point B, if someone gets into it, they're unable to actually read it, do anything with it. Why? Because it's encrypted. I'll talk about integrity. Like I said, that's trustworthiness. What do we mean by that? We've created some information. We've stored it. May have sent it to someone else. We want to be sure that information, that data hasn't changed in any unauthorized way. Okay? And then availability. We want to be sure that our information is available. I'll probably give you an example of this. Your local banking institution, whoever it may be, you really apply all three of these in that environment. Why? You want your bank information, your account information to be confidential, meaning that I only want the people who is authorized to see that, like myself or my wife or whomever it may be, and the right authorized people at the bank. Everyone at the bank shouldn't have access to my account. So that's confidentiality. I want to keep it confidential. They keep it encrypted. That's why I have to have, a card and a PIN and these other things to get to that data. Now also, but in our banking environment, this example, integrity is huge. Here's why. If I deposit a check for $500 on Monday, I go back into my account on Wednesday, I expect to see a deposit for $500. Now I deposit for $425. Now, it's great if I see a deposit for $600 on my side, but no, even I don't want to see that, because now I'm losing my trustworthiness in that bank that they got my deposit wrong. So integrity is huge in the banking industry, as well as availability. I need to be able to get to my money when I want my money. It's my money, and I want it now. I need my money. Where are my money? I go to an ATM machine, and I go and open, and boom, I can't get to it. Banks close on certain days. I need to move money from one organization to another, and I can't do that. So availability, integrity, all of those are huge players in the banking industry. Now, some principles. We don't get into it this deeply in this course, but I like to introduce it because this is very fundamental to everything we do in the realm of security. Is access. That's all security is. Let's break it down to its simplest components. From the time that the first caveman had a stick and went out and killed an animal and drug it in, and another caveman saw him and go, hey, that stick thing works pretty good. I want that stick. From that time since, it is that one person has something of value that another person wants, that we have access control. Now this caveman has to manage access to his stick. He got to hide it somewhere because he knows that the other caveman wants to come and get his stick. So that's really all we're doing with cybersecurity. We're controlling access from information, information object to to a subject, an entity who needs access. I want to get to this. And how do we do that? We have this access model that we want to be sure we have the right identification. So if someone wants to get into your network, that's why you have, like a username, a password, or something, a username. That is your identifier. That's who I am, right? And now that I have been identified, I want to be able to authenticate. Okay, you give me a username. That's great. How do I know that username is you? Well, that's why we have things like pins and passwords associated with that username. So now I can authenticate that I am my identification is authentic. So once that happens, then I get to come into, the environment. So even though I'm authorized now to come in because I've been properly identified and properly authenticated, doesn't mean, that I have access to everything. That's our access control. So just like you on your network, probably at your home where you work, you get identified with a username. You gave a password or a PIN or some type of authenticator, and they let you get on the network. Great. Does that mean that you have access to every folder on that network? No. There are certain places you can't go based on your privileges, your rights, access control. And the last part of that is auditing. We want to be sure that we audit, meaning now I get to track everywhere you go. Why are these important with this environment with privacy? Because, again, we're trying to maintain confidentiality of private information. We want to be sure your private information hadn't changed, that when you entered your social security number, that social security number did not change, and now we have faulty information and availability. Who can get to that information? Your personal information. And we control that, again, with this access model. So that gives you a little background on how we do that. Now, within the realm of controlling access, and I think it's very important to understand some of the cybersecurity's, our enterprise role in risk management, okay? Everything we do in security is based on risk. Just like in your home, everything you do in your home is based on risk and how much you want to pay, Many of us probably don't have Lords of London insurance on our vehicles because why? We can't afford it, and the risk isn't great enough, But understanding risk, we have to understand what our roles are. So let's say we have a business, your company, and the end user of this company loves shaved ice. This is an example I love to use. Risk management is kind of like making shaved ice. This little boy loves shaved ice, and he wants to get, a cone of his favorite shaved ice. Well, how does that happen? Okay, it starts with water. If you think of shaved ice, really it's just water has to be there first. So from the city water company, we have our IT networking individuals, and I equate those to a plumber. They provide the connectivity. They provide the piping to get water into our environment, just like we get data and information through our network connections. Now, once that water and once those pipes are good, they bring them in. Now, this is where we as cybersecurity kick in, because there is a fundamental difference between IT and cybersecurity. We share a lot of the same skill sets, but we have a different focus. Here's what I mean. This individual, this plumber, he knows how to connect pipes. He knows rise over run. He knows how to do all these great things. Also, city water inspector have some of those same things. However, the IT guy, the plumber, he's concerned about getting that water to the building. Just like you get the people your plumber, right? They are concerned about getting water to your house, to the faucet, to the shower head. Now, you ask the plumber about the rust content, you may not be able to answer that. You ask about the pH balance of the water. The answer may be, that's pretty hard water we have here in this area. That's probably the answer. However, this city water inspector, just like cybersecurity, concerned about the quality of the water. And we're concerned about the quality, the confidentiality, integrity, availability of the information that's going to the within our organization. And that is the That's what we are bringing to the table. Now, how do we get shaved ice? Well, now that we got IT or the plumbers that got the water to the building, we have checked it out. It's good to go. The quality, everything needed for that water, is good. Then it comes down here to this little shaved ice machine. This is where we have an input and an output, right? And that's the value stream of your organization right there. That's where we take raw materials, bring it in, add value. What value do we add to this? We freeze it, freeze this water, and we squirt the syrup on it, right? The sugary syrup. So now we've taken, because how much can you sell a cup of ice for? A quarter, maybe? However, once I bring it through my value stream and I put that squirt stuff in it, now I can sell that to this customer for what? $2.95, $3.95. I've added value. However, this value stream, this thing doesn't happen without these two organizations. So think of your data now from that same perspective, especially the security and the privacy of your data, because there's things that we have in our water that we don't want other people to know about. Why? Because it is either information that we want to maintain the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of, or it could be privacy information that we want to be able to ensure that we're doing this. However, it still all goes into maintaining the full value stream, and that's where risk. That's the risk model. And what we are doing, we're trying to mitigate risk as much as possible, reduce the the sharing of, or the unauthorized sharing of information, of personal data, the things that we have in our environment.